In our crispy, dry state, it's Colorado Springs fighting off fires today. One close enough to the airport that the sheriff says it's being evacuated. A crackdown on fentanyl possession soon will be law. The legislative leader who put in a compromise to help people avoid felony charges admitted to us today few people will be able to use that. There are more than 10,000 door locks at the airport. DIA needs more people willing to keep track of what sounds like a very large and very jingly keyring. Graduates leave a 2-year program with their lives.
I realized that if I keep living this way, I was going to die, and I didn't want that.
And when a business was targeted with thrown rocks, they turned them into pets.
Bob and Oscar's live on a shelf.
Making the best of bad situations. We try to do it daily on Next. Wildfires are burning near Colorado Springs tonight, where the airport's been closed and the people who are stuck inside may be evacuated. We'll give you a look at that fire burning just outside airport property. The El Paso County Sheriff says the airport is closed, so no one can come and go. The airport says it's preparing to evacuate everyone who's still inside. The Sheriff's Office had actually announced an evacuation of the airport and then held off on executing that. There are mandatory evacuations in the neighborhoods nearby. There are also evacuations in Teller County, where there's a wildfire that can be seen from the Denver metro area. That fire is burning west of Cripple Creek near County Road 11. People in the immediate area of that fire have been told to get out. It's too early to tell the size of that particular fire. This is the view from atop Pikes Peak. You see a big plume of white smoke that can also be seen depending on where you are in the Denver metro area. This is the view looking south at that Teller County fire from our camera at Elitch Gardens. A third fire earlier today forced evacuations on the east side of Colorado Springs. It was a fast-moving grass fire near houses. 500 homes were evacuated there. The Rocky Mountain Vibes minor league baseball team opened up their facility as a place where people could stay and get some food and wait out the fire. Firefighters say they have portions of that issue under control. A separate fire, the fourth, if you are counting, in a different part of Colorado Springs, forced people to leave a mobile home park today. The fire danger down in the Springs is particularly high because of the dry air and strong winds. The city's fire marshal says grass fires in suburban-like areas are becoming increasingly dangerous.
Grass fires are serious because they spread rapidly. That is all involving flashy fuels. That will travel at the speed the wind is blowing. And so the grass fires are just as dangerous, if not more so in many instances, as was evidenced by the Marshall fire.
El Paso County's evacuation orders this morning pinged phones far from those fires. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office said the people in Dougco were getting the alerts. Not something to worry about. This is not unusual with those wireless emergency alerts, the Amber Alert style system that tries to hit all the phones in a given area. That's what the emergency managers call bleed over when it hits some other areas. Newer phones tend to be located more precisely. Older phones are more likely to get alerts from further away, and that's why the wording of those emergency messages is so important. The governor's signature is all that's needed now to make possession of fentanyl a felony in Colorado. Not dealing fentanyl, that's already a felony. Just having it in trace amounts, even if somebody doesn't know that the pill or the powder that they have contains fentanyl. A last-minute compromise in the legislature allows people charged with this felony to try and get it reduced to a misdemeanor at trial. But the Democratic Speaker of the House, the bill's sponsor, admitted to our Anusha Roy today most people who will be charged with a felony for fentanyl possession won't ever get to a trial.
A majority of the discussion was focused on one point.
Having any more than 1 gram of fentanyl is a felony.
Democratic Representative Alec Garnett, a bill sponsor, says the legislation is focusing on drug dealers' education and resources to get fentanyl off the streets, as well as criminal charges for people buying drugs laced with fentanyl, which happens all the time. Garnett says there are protections in place for them.
So this is just trying to take into consideration the rare circumstance where if somebody didn't know that fentanyl was in their substance, that they have an opportunity in court to present evidence.
Rare is the key word here, because while Garnett says a person can try to go to trial, he also says
most low-level drug possession cases do not make it all the way to court. The DA is going to plead down to something. They're going to work on going to diversion. They're going to work with the defendant. Very rarely are you actually making it all the way to trial. Prosecutor always has the discretion to work with you.
I do think that Speaker Garnett is probably accurate in that very many folks won't go to trial.
While Denise Mace with Servicio Sigue agrees on that one point, it's also one of the points that concerns her.
I think they will be arrested and charged. It's a big net, and it's going to sweep up a lot of folks.
She says this part of the bill is opposite to a lot of testimony.
The overwhelming data, the overwhelming testimony said do not felonize. Do harm reduction alone. You are putting an extra burden on addicts. How is that going to work? That is clearly the war on drugs, take two.
But Garnett was adamant that that is not what this is, that they are not trying to stop recreational drug use or punish people for addiction.
This is not a return to the drug wars of the past. This is just a recognition of the deadliness of fentanyl.
So we've long heard from law enforcement and experts that a small amount of fentanyl can kill a person. A lot of our law enforcement agencies, they have field tests right now that can tell if a substance has fentanyl or not. Those results actually come back in around 5 minutes. CBI can test it as well. There are also DEA labs that are used here in Colorado. But at the end of the day, in Colorado, you can't actually tell the amount of fentanyl that's in a substance. It's just yes or no if it's there.
So normally that would be concerning, if we can't differentiate. But I guess at this point, practically speaking, if they're going to charge people with a felony and lock them up for a trace, then the testing being imprecise is not that big of a deal.
Yeah, that percentage is not playing as big of a role as you might think it is. So Representative Garnett was saying, if you've got, let's say, more than a gram of cocaine and it tests positive for fentanyl, that's automatically going to be opening up the door to these new charges. It's just about if it is there or not the actual percentage of it.
Given the threat it poses to the community, you'd like to see the testing come along so that we've got a better idea of just how much of this deadly fentanyl is in other drugs,
Which is something that CBI is working on, but there's no timeline on that yet.
Anusha, thank you. The primary for Secretary of State is going to be one of the clearest tests yet on whether Colorado Republicans, voters now, believe the big lie that elections are rigged. And tonight appears to be the only night that all three candidates in that race are going to appear together before the primary. Voters have a real clear choice. There's indicted Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters. She's become a nationwide star in election denier circles. She faces felony charges for allegedly tampering with voting systems in search of fraud. She easily won the top line on the ballot at the Republican State Assembly. Former Jeffco clerk Pam Anderson is doing the unpopular work of pushing back on election rigging conspiracy theories within her party. She says that our elections are safe and secure. She claims that Peters is partisan, just like Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. There's a third candidate in the race. That's business consultant Mike O'Donnell. He has suggested funny business with Colorado's voter rolls, but O'Donnell has not been able to point at anything that constitutes voter fraud. You can see our extended interviews with Anderson and O'Donnell on the next YouTube channel. Tina Peters has not agreed to answer our questions. I'll be watching tonight's candidate forum held by the Foothills Republicans. I'll break it down for you at 9 and 10 o'clock. The tax refunds being pushed out by Democrats before you vote on whether to keep them in power in Colorado may end up being larger than the $400 estimate. That is because our state underestimated April's income tax collections by $1.2 billion. $1.2 billion. How does that happen? We asked the state's budget director, Lauren Larson.
I think businesses are doing well. Even small businesses is what these numbers show. Our corporate income tax is up. These estimated payments are often paid by small businesses. This business income we kept pretty conservative because we didn't know where that would end up, and now it's clearly ending up way above where we and quite a few other states were expecting.
Larson said the $1.2 billion estimate could be off by a few $100 million, but even if it is, it appears the Coloradans will be getting more than the $400 in Tabor refunds originally projected. We mention this each time. This is money that is owed to you under the law. The state legislature decided to send the checks out early to make sure you had them before Election Day.
They've spent more than 2 years changing their lives. Graduate this weekend with 27 months of self-reflection and sobriety.
Saddening to know that, wow, are there that many crazy people out there that they have this extra time to go vandalize somebody?
And when rocks smashed through her business's front window, she refused to be intimidated. That's how she ended up with Pet Rocks. Next.
Denver International Airport needs a new keymaster. Actually, a couple of them. The airport recently posted an interesting job, a locksmith position. They have a small team of people in charge of the more than 10,000 doors and thousands of padlocks at the airport, along with the thousands of keys that unlock those doors and locks. So they maintain the keys, repair the keys, install the new doors, install the new locks. You don't get to carry like this massive key ring with thousands of keys on it, just jingling and jangling all over the place. The keys are kept in lockers and safes, depending on where they're used, which kind of makes the job less fun. The locks are spread out over the whole DIA complex, 53 square miles, so you're going to get your steps in. The job pays somewhere between $23 to $34 an hour. DIA is looking for locksmiths with at least 5 years experience. Also, you got to be able to pass an FBI background check because it's the airport. We're getting some feedback, actually also airport related, about how DIA is changing with our ever-changing weather patterns. We talked to you last night about how DIA is preparing for different weather than we've seen in the past, specifically more high wind days than in previous years. Wind can mean delays at the airport, sometimes hours long. That means that the airport needs to factor in wind when it makes its flight schedules. Captain Steve, retired United Airlines pilot, reached out with some perspective. He said the one thing that we didn't touch on last night is the westerly wind problem at the airport. Captain Steve said the setup of the runways makes it so that when the wind's really coming in from the west, planes can't take off or land on the north-south runways because there's the crosswind. So that leaves just 2 east-west runways to use during high wind days. Steve was saying whenever the airport expands, he is betting that they will add more east-west runways to deal with increasing wind. Sure enough, DIA says that's right. They have room for 6 more runways, and they're looking at east-west.
Not as warm today, but the wind continues, and with all that sunshine and wind, super dry around the area. Our high only 72 in Denver, but did see some 90s in southeastern Colorado. Humidity values running in the single digits, and this is the reason for the wind. A center of circulation crossing northern Colorado. As it moves away, the winds will slowly ease tonight. We're seeing some peak gusts to 40 and 50 miles per hour in Wyoming and northeastern Colorado. So the red flag warnings for high fire danger will be extended out through 9 o'clock. Not a lot of moisture coming in the form of clouds or precipitation, but we do have a chance of showers in the extended forecast. Well, showers and thunderstorms. I'm saying there's a chance, and that would be on Tuesday. Between now and then, we've got sunshine and 76 Friday and 80s for your weekend.
Government immunity has had the city of Denver's back a couple of times lately. There was the broken pipe that damaged about 50 homes, and the small stuff, like golf balls. Robert Adams was driving with his wife and daughter last month when a golf ball hit his windshield. This on West Florida near the Aqua Golf driving range. He asked the city if they'd pony up $330 to fix it. The city was like, no, you should go away because of the Colorado Governmental Immunity Act. This is the same act that protected Denver water when the pipe broke and flooded homes in the Berkeley neighborhood last month. 4 million gallons of water in that case filled homes and streets off West 45th and Perry Street. So when do you have a case against the government, against the city? We asked 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor.
So if it's foreseeable, meaning they know that there's going to be however many golf balls going into the road, causing accidents or whatnot, and they don't take the protective measures, then they're going to have liability.
Traylor says sometimes the city just mentioning government immunity will make some people drop their case and walk away. As for the golf ball guy, Adams told us he's not looking to sue anybody. He would like to see the city install a net.
It's a sign that hate has no place in Lakewood, but there is a special place for the rocks thrown through the front window.
I came here, at rock bottom, and I had nowhere else to go but up. That life for me was, it was hell.
And graduation day is approaching for Coloradans who leave with something more important than a diploma. They leave with a chance to live free of addiction. We'll meet some grateful graduates next.
A group of graduates walking this weekend is taking steps away from addiction, away from trauma, away from old ways of living. They are stepping into a future that sure is brighter than it was 2 or 3 years ago when they first walked into Stout Street Foundation's residential addiction treatment program in Denver.
It wasn't easy. It was not an easy journey, but it was definitely worth it. Oh wait, let's move the trash can. My name is Samantha Alton. I've been sober. It will be 3 years, September 4th. Get in there, Ken!
My name is Jason Dearmore, and I've been sober almost 3 years.
So I was 19 when I started using.
I was addicted to heroin, I was addicted to meth, and I was addicted to cocaine.
I kind of dabbled in everything, but methamphetamines was my main addiction.
That life for me was, it was hell.
This was before my son knew about my addiction. Yeah, I don't like to look at it. I don't share those memories. Those are memories I don't share. I'd rather just delete them.
Here's one of me and my addiction. When you're struggling and you know in your heart of hearts that this is something you don't want to do, but you continuously do it, it breaks you down over and over again. And so it's a difficult process to fully get clean and sober.
And then in 2019, I realized that this wasn't the life I wanted to live anymore. I realized that if I keep living this way, I was going to die. And I didn't want that.
We're losing so many people before they even get a chance to get in recovery. We're losing good, decent people that just need to find their walk on recovery.
One of my biggest accomplishments is getting clean and sober and staying that way.
Stout Street's my home. I love this place. It was a difficult journey. I mean, I went through this place 3 different times.
Recovery is a choice that you make every day. It's a choice that you wake up and you make every day. And I am so glad that I decided to make that choice and that I still decide to make that choice every day.
It's a beautiful thing to know that I have the rest of my life ahead of me and I don't ever have to look back.
Right, next time we think about addiction in our community, think about the strength and perseverance of those folks. Coming up here, it's a sign of how to turn hate on its head. That and your feedback next. It's a sign of turning hate into something pretty hilarious. I want you to meet Bob and Oscar. They are the pet rocks at Kickin' Chicken. The restaurant in Lakewood was vandalized twice 2 years ago. Bob was the first rock that was launched through their window. I guess his name wasn't Bob at that point. Anyway, he was adopted by the restaurant. They called him Bob. Oscar, the rock, came smashing through a window soon after. The sign explaining Oscar's arrival says, "I don't think my family was ready just yet to adopt another rock, but they did, and here I am." The owner of Kickin' Chicken, Ivy Pham, made pet rocks out of vandalism, trying to show her staff that they would not be bullied out of town.
At first, we just kind of kept it because it was for police evidence, you know, and then after a while, it just kind of, I was like, well, I'm going to build them a shelf and then might as well put a plaque on it because everyone kept asking. I was like, why do you have a rock on a shelf? So I'm like, okay, I'll give them like a whole background story. It was really for my staff. We just wanted to send a good message that, hey, like, let's stick, you know, I don't want you guys to be discouraged. We have a great thing going on and let's continue moving forward.
Ivy says the community rallied around him in a big way. She talked about the vandalism on social media, and at that point, she says they were sold out of chicken for a week straight. We like their style. It's how you stand up to bullies. Charlie writes in tonight to say, why is the Tabor refund, the tax refund, not based on a percentage of how much you paid in state taxes? Charlie says it feels like the people who paid the least will get the largest percentage refund versus a fair distribution. Well, Charlie, fair is going to be in the eye of the beholder. The change to standardize out the refunds for everybody was a decision made by Democrats at the state capitol. We'll see you next time.